there's a little thing in real estate called RESPA.
Okay.
RESPA is what's called the Real Estate Settlements and Procedures Act. And so what RESPA was basically is RESPA was put into place back in 1974.
Okay.
It was signed into law. And what that does is that provides consumers with improved disclosures of settlement costs in the process of getting a loan and buying a home, and the elimination of referral fees and kickbacks. Okay. So the intent of this was to inform consumers of their settlement costs and prevent kickbacks that could increase the cost of obtaining a mortgage. So what's this mean in English, Lance? This means that I can't say to my customer, hey, I think you should go over to XYZ Mortgage. They do a great job over there.
Okay.
Everything to that point is legal. I can still say that to somebody. If I'm smart, I give them 2 or 3 examples of ones they could go to. But what can't happen in the situation now that RESPA prevented is now XYZ Mortgage can't say, hey, Lance, you know what? Thanks for sending us over that client for a loan.
Okay.
I'm going to make about, let's just make up a number, $3,000 on that loan.
Okay.
You know what? To show my appreciation to you, I'm going to send you 1,000 of that 3.
Okay.
That's thanks for sending them over.
Okay. So let me guess, the law considered that to be a kickback.
100%. Like, that is absolutely not allowed. Like, we're talking lose your license type of stuff.
Yes.
Okay. And so they went after this, clean some of that up, because what they didn't want to have happen is all of a sudden now that mortgage costs $4,000 and people are sending them to somebody that costs more because they're getting rebated back that type of money. They're getting a kickback back.
Yes.
And so this was designed to clean that up. And I mean, this is an absolute no-go. I mean, in our industry, like I said, people, you can lose your license over this.
Yes.
They investigate it. People check for these things. And I mean, at this point, like, if you were doing that, like, you're absolutely an idiot. Like, I don't have a nice way of saying it. Like,
yeah,
this
because you're playing with fire.
I mean, I can't even imagine. But there have people that investigate these. There's case studies out there. There's people that have gotten in trouble in all 50 states. And so this is a no-go. This is something you cannot do. And it's the same for title and escrow. Okay, that exact time, you cannot be directing consumers to a certain company and then getting a kickback from that company. But here's the thing that I think people need to realize. Let's look at this process.
Okay.
There's a lot of money in loan origination. There's a lot of money in title and escrow services.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in servicing your loan afterwards. So I call those ancillary services to the home ownership process, creates a lot of money. So now, enter the last couple weeks in real estate. And one of our favorites, here's a couple things that have happened that I do not think is a coincidence based upon what is happening on a national level. 2 weeks ago, Rocket Mortgage. And John, you've seen Rocket Mortgage, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you've
the
seen
ads on TV.
You've seen the ads on TV. They've been around for a number of years.
Yes.
They advertise a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's the thing. 2 weeks ago, they make a play for, and they're buying the real estate company Redfin.
Ooh.
Okay, so purchasing Redfin.
All right.
This week announced, anybody that has had a mortgage that has ever been sold has probably heard this name, Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
So Mr. Cooper is a loan servicing company.
Okay.
Rocket Mortgage announced for $9 billion in stock. Made the announcement.
They're buying that one too.
They're buying Mr. Cooper.
Wow.
Okay, so now what do you think they have? Redfin agents out finding consumer house.
Okay.
What does that consumer need to do when they find the house they like?
They need a mortgage.
They need a mortgage.
So they bought Rocket.
So they go to Rocket, and then once they have a mortgage,
Then Mr. Cooper, who's also owned by them. So all three phases are controlled by one company.
all three phases controlled by one company. So
which I'm sure the who is it? Not the Federal Trade Commission, is it? FTC?
Consumer Protection Bureau.
Consumer Protection Bureau
Consumer
looks
Finance,
at that and goes,
CFIB.
that's a conflict of interest.
But in an environment nationally where we're getting rid of regulations and big conglomerates might be able to get approved.
Wow.
When would you do this?
Well, when there's a need for housing and a need for building, and when you're having a, quote, crisis.
Okay, so now, I mean, this is happening right now in the industry. And so you got to look, of course, there's going to be regulatory boards that look at this. Is this acquisition going to get approval? What's this acquisition going to do? And I tell you what, like, I'm going to read you the quote right from Rocket. This is not a secret, but this is what happened. Servicing, talking about the sale to Mr. Cooper. Servicing is a critical pillar of home ownership alongside home search and mortgage origination. With the right data and AI infrastructure, we will deliver the right products at the right time. That's how we build lifelong relationships, proactively unlocking benefits and meeting needs before they arise. We look forward to welcoming Mr. Cooper's 7 million clients. So what's going to happen? AI is ripping up at a whole nother level. Meeting needs before they arise, meaning that when you go on and search for that first home, you are going to be plugged into the algorithm and delivered during that process. I can only imagine hundreds of ads for specific mortgage companies to you. Once you have that, I imagine eventually we're going to see title and escrow folded into the mix here, and then eventually all the way to loan servicing. So, is this a workaround to RESPA? Right? Because I can't do that. So you can't get kickbacks, and they're not getting kickbacks. But how do you define it if the ownership of the mothership is common between all of those cycles?
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
Well, wouldn't that constitute a monopoly?
Well, I don't know. Maybe if there wasn't a Zillow and there wasn't a CoStar, I don't know, but at a minimum, I'm telling you right now, it is massive consolidation in the real estate world to a level I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And Zillow's right there with them. And then CoStar's not too far. And most people haven't heard of CoStar, but have you seen all these ads for, I don't know, the actress and the actor, the Homes.com ads?
Oh, the funny ones?
Yeah, I don't know who those
Homes.com.
two actors are, but they're pretty funny. They've got good chemistry. Some of those ads are good. Well, Homes.com is CoStar. CoStar's been in the commercial real estate world for years and famous for that. They also own Apartments.com.
Okay, with Jeffrey Goldblum.
Yeah, okay, they're on it. And then get this, too, not well publicized, but 3 weeks ago, they bought a little technology company called Matterport, which are the 3D tours that we use in real estate.
Okay.
They bought Matterport for, I think that was $1.6 billion. So now they own from take the picture of the listing. Well, before that, they've got you when you're a freaking tenant at Apartments.com.
Yeah.
So you're a tenant. Take the picture of the listing. They own the servicing company taking the tours and the 3D tours and the pictures. Then they've got you at Homes.com on the search, and then they're moving right into that ecosystem. You can see them building the building blocks of a very similar type of thing that the Rocket Company is doing. And they are doing this. I love that it's front and center in that article. AI is going to be pushing this. They want to know that very first home that you look at, they want AI to start to determine what your profile is, what type of loan you're going to get, plugging those ads in, following you. I guarantee that system's going to be following you from the beginning of that journey all the way through.
So it's kind of like a real estate terminator.
Yes, exactly. And here's the argument, though. And now, at this point, John, I have not told you whether I think this is good or bad. I might be slightly jealous. But one of the things in there, here's what's good about it from their perspective.
Okay.
Is that they can eliminate costs and make the process cheaper for the consumer.
Yes.
Right? Because if they're making a lot of money on loan originations and they really want to focus on the loans, they don't have to make as much money on the real estate side.
Yeah.
So they can run a loss leader. They can lower commissions on the real estate side, take the rip on the loan, and then also have the servicing of it for the life of that. So they're going to be able to move some things around and move some costs around. The selling point of why they want to do this and try to do it is utilize AI for more efficiencies. Then they're not competing for the customers or the leads or paying for that. They're acquiring them themselves, lower costs there, so that overall, at the end of the day, they're getting more market share with that. Zillow was a couple of years ago, they were doing Zillow Instant Offers, and they were purchasing homes. They also have Zillow Mortgage, and so Zillow, in a very similar fashion to what's going on with Rocket, really wants to try to control costs and control that ecosystem from start to finish. So we've talked about the advantages to the consumer being able to get into one ecosystem, hopefully deal with one registration, everything in one spot, eventually getting to some cost cutting if they can use AI to take care of some of that servicing, package some things together and get to some lower costs. But what's missing in that equation?
Well, the human interaction, the human touch, if you will, human discernment.
Yes. Okay, John, I didn't even send you the show notes. You're really good at this. Okay, this. No, I'm serious. That is such a good answer. And my number one thing that I wrote down when I'm evaluating this is that they still have to find a way to leverage local talent because until the AI is good enough. Now, Rocket's going to say that's why they're purchasing Redfin and getting access to the agents on the front end of the process, because they're going to need some boots on the ground in the front end of that process. There are still local customs and there's still consumer preferences.
Yes.
It was really interesting. I had somebody last week just argue with me emphatically that they should put $20,000 of earnest money down on a $450,000 house. Okay, and they were coming from a market. They were coming from an outside of our area, from another state. And I told them that they should only put $4,000 down.
Ooh.
And I'm going off of local custom knowledge there. And I said, why are you going to put 20 down? And we talked through this. They said, well, I don't want another offer to sneak in and take the house out from under me.
Yeah.
And I want to show the seller that I'm very, very serious about this purchase. And I said, I can do that for you without risking an extra $16,000.
Yes.
I can do that in our market for you. Your offer can still stand out, and I can show you how to do that without risking the extra 16. I said, if something goes wrong in this transaction, and 2 weeks from now something happens, you lose your job.
Yeah.
And we don't have a financing contingency in place, and we're through inspection, we've done all that, and you lose your job. And you say, you know what, I'm not going to close. Do you want to give the seller $4,000 of yours, or do you want to give them 20?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't think that's going to happen, Lance. And I'm like, it's real estate. It might happen. And I've seen it happen and been in that situation.
Where people lose their earnest money.
And then what will happen is someone will come to you and say, why did you ever put 20 down? We never do that in this area.
Yeah.
I'm the guy telling you right now the local custom, and that's what we do here. And so those are the type of things that AI is not quite there yet for some of these things. And so consumer preferences, local customs. And even if you still want to do that, if I explain all of the, pros and cons to this and you still want to do it, I'm going to do it for you. Because you do bring up some valid points. I don't think it's necessary. I'm going to have you sign a document that says I told you not to do that.
Yes.
But I don't think it's necessary. And so, we have to fully understand that some of these combinations, some of this big push for AI, some of these consolidations, I fully understand that they want to remove the agent from the process because there is a big chunk of money there that if they can get rid of that in the process, it will overall lower the cost of that process. But the agent has to still show what value are they bringing to the transaction.
Yes.
And the human factor that you talked about, John, especially in negotiation, especially in knowledge about these things, and then the personal dynamics will still make a difference. And some examples that I give to people about that is here's a great example that we had in the last 2 weeks. When it's Friday morning and you haven't heard that the transaction has recorded and you have the U-Haul truck full,
loaded with your stuff
at the hotel, and if it doesn't close by Friday at 4, when's the next time it can close?
Monday.
And so what are you going to do at 10 o'clock if it hasn't recorded yet and you're using the Rocket?
Boy, there's not much you're going to be able to do.
You're going to have to call the Rocket, John.
Yes.
Or you're going to have to send up a Rocket of your own to find the Rocket or drive around until you can't find the Rocket.
Yes.
And so
if you're not dealing with a carbon-based life unit, late night, early morning hours.
Do you know what I had twice last week in my parking lot in front of me, in front of the building I own?
Moving vans.
U-Hauls. Because they found me. They came and found me and said, where am I going to put this truck for the weekend?
Yeah.
If this doesn't close. And the closing wasn't anything we had done, but it's part of a transaction that we're doing with another agent. So where am I going to put the truck? Well, I guess you're going to put it in my parking lot.
Yeah.
And I've got security cameras. You can park it there and I'll let everybody know that is what is happening.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes. And those are the type of things that we still do that provide this. It's a hard to bring a measurable value to that, but for those two people that had those U-Haul trucks there,
yes,
it provided immense value to them at that time of need. And so those are the type of things that, is going to be hard to balance with that. The other point that I see in the transaction being a pain point for just becoming AI based and just getting rid of agents is the inspection and negotiation process.
Oh, yeah.
It's determining what is a big deal and what is not a big deal. And AI might just start saying a lot of things are not a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not training it, but it might. And there's things that sometimes don't seem like a big deal, but could be later. And so going through, it's going to be very, very interesting to watch and see because we still have a big human element to that of what needs to be fixed and then who's going to fix it. Who can you count on to come fix it?
Yes.
And mind you, there's a technology engineer on the other side of this radio show saying, well, Lance, I'm going to rate all the contractors and then I'm going to get a rating that's the best. And then I'm going to automatically schedule them. Okay, that's great. But we also still have to figure out if we need these repairs in the first place. And then if they're done correctly. And I'm still betting on a human factor in that case at this point. I'm all for learning. We're utilizing AI in certain parts of our business already. As it gets more predictable and we can use it to help on these things, great. But I tell you what, it is not negotiating inspections and making the appointments with the contractors and helping the client decide which repairs need to be done or not need to be done. There's still a lot of that. That goes into the factor. And also, I will say some of the iBuying things that they launched and tried to do this way over the last couple of years, a lot of those have had major problems, meaning they weren't identifying some of these unknown local factors.
Yes.
And those divisions were actually losing millions of dollars for some of those companies until they could figure out how to rein in that technology a little bit. But I got to tell you guys, it is here. It is not hiding. Like, these big companies are making plays to get access to this data, to utilize AI they've said it directly in there, to deliver the experience before you know you need it. And so that's going to be really interesting. We're keeping a close eye on it until it's replaced me. I'm here, John, on the show, willing to help. And
he's real, by the way.
We are right here doing those evaluations, helping people with those situations, keeping an eye on what's going on in real estate. If you have any questions at all, go to kenmoreteam.com, and we will be right back here next week.